What if I told you that an invisible line in the ocean, a cosmic puzzle, and a sacred story were all pointing to the exact same hidden law of reality? Well, today, we're going to uncover just that, a merciful boundary that shows up in the most unexpected places.
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with a really strange puzzle in the animal kingdom. Then we'll see how a basic law of physics gives us a clue to solving it. That clue is going to lead us to a powerful moment in Surah 19, and then all the way out into the cosmos before we bring it all home to one single beautiful idea. Okay, so our story begins in the Indonesian archipelago. It's this beautiful part of the world, but it's also home to something really strange, a completely invisible wall that cuts right through the ocean, dividing the animal kingdom in a way that had scientists scratching their heads for more than a century.
It's called the Wallace Line, and the mystery is this: why does all animal life just stop here? You have islands that are just a few miles apart. You could practically swim between them, but they have completely different sets of animals, as if they were on opposite sides of the planet.
And it gets even more specific. To the west of this invisible line, you find what our source material calls force-dominant mammals. Think big, powerful animals like tigers and rhinos. But cross that line and they are gone. Poof. Replaced by what are called energy-dominant species. You know, kangaroos, wallabies, and these incredibly vibrant birds of paradise. The separation is almost perfect. It's wild.
So, what in the world is going on? Well, the key, according to this analysis, is to stop thinking about animals and start thinking about physics. This isn't just about biology. It's about two fundamentally different ways reality organizes itself. Two systems that just can't occupy the same space without a little help.
Now, the technical term is incompatible optimization regimes. I know, it's a mouthful, but the idea is actually really simple. Think about trying to run macOS and Windows on the same computer at the same time, without any kind of partition between them. It would just crash, right? Because they're built for totally different purposes. They're incompatible.
And this slide just nails the analogy. You've got the cat, which represents a system of force. It's all about ground truth, power, inertia. Think F equals ma. Then you have the bird, which represents a system of energy. It's about elevation, signals, information. Think E is approximately mc squared. One is about brute force, the other is about efficient signal.
Now I want you to hold on to that idea, this necessary boundary between force and energy, because we are about to see this exact same pattern show up in a place you would never expect, a pivotal moment of divine revelation. And this is where the whole thing just blows up into something much bigger. What if the Wallace Line isn't some weird biological fluke? What if it's just one example of a universal rule? A rule that says whenever these two fundamental systems, force and energy, are about to collide, reality itself creates a merciful boundary to keep the peace.
The source material draws this incredible parallel to the encounter between Maryam and the angel in Surah 19. In this analogy, Maryam represents the cat system. She lives in the world of known physical and biological laws. The angel is the bird system, a being of pure energy, a divine signal. And when they meet, watch what happens. The same pattern unfolds, step by step.
Maryam's first reaction is fear. But the argument here is that this is not a sign of weakness or ignorance. It's a sign of profound recognition. It's the natural systemic shock that happens when a system of pure energy makes contact with a world of physical force. Her reaction is almost like an ecosystem's immune response, resisting collapse when a totally new and powerful element appears. And notice her words. She seeks refuge in the most merciful. She is invoking the very boundary needed to prevent chaos. In this reading, the mercy is the boundary.
And here it is. The angel's response is the boundary itself. This divine assurance is the partition that stops the force system, Maryam's physical world, from being totally overwhelmed. It stabilizes a situation and makes a new kind of reality possible.
Now this is so important. According to this analysis, Maryam's question isn't doubt, it's a law check. She's asking a physics question. She's saying, okay, how does this new reality you're introducing, this bird system, work with the established laws of my world, the cat system? It's a question of mechanics, not faith.
And if that wasn't mind-bending enough, the exploration suggests this pattern isn't just on Earth. It's not just in biology or revelation. It's written in the stars. We can see it on a cosmic scale in the way we look at the universe itself.
So in cosmology, there's this huge puzzle right now called the Hubble tension. Put simply, when scientists measure how fast the universe is expanding using light from the early universe, they get one number. But when they measure it using stars and galaxies in the universe today, they get a different number. And they can't figure out why. It's like a boundary in our very understanding of the cosmos.
But what if it's not an error? What if it's just more evidence of our two regimes at play? Maybe when we look at the early universe, we're measuring its force characteristics, its raw, initial, powerful expansion. And when we look at the modern universe, we're measuring its energy characteristics through light and signals. The Hubble tension, then, is the boundary where our two different ways of seeing meet.
Okay, let's bring it all together. This is the moment where we can finally step back and see this single beautiful organizing law playing out across these completely different layers of reality.
I mean, look at this. When you lay it all out, the pattern is just undeniable. In zoology, a force system meets an energy system, and boom, you get the Wallace Line. In Revelation, the known physical world meets a divine command, and divine assurance becomes the boundary. In cosmology, our views of the early and late universe don't line up, creating the Hubble tension. It's the same structure over and over again.
So here's the three-step process. This is the fundamental law. First, an old system meets a new incompatible one. Second, a boundary forms, not to create conflict, but to mercifully protect both sides. And third, that very boundary opens up a new possibility that couldn't have existed before.
And this is the main takeaway. This isn't just some poetic metaphor. The argument is that this is a deep, structural truth about how reality works. It is the same organizing law, this merciful boundary between force and energy, showing up in biology and in Revelation, perfectly balanced and complete.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound final thought. You know, we're often taught that nature is all about conflict, survival of the fittest, a constant clash of opposites. But maybe, just maybe, the deeper law of the universe is one of mercy. A law of boundaries that don't divide us, but instead preserve order, create balance, and ultimately make new worlds possible.